Funny dog. Monday morning. It's going to snow today. Whew. Both the doggy and I have slept long and well, and pretty soon we're gonna go out there. I'm gonna take her for a long stroll in the woods. I have to report just that my fingers are definitely improving. I'm so happy about that. The worst of it is in the night and when I first wake up in the morning, and so that's the real test. And I slept through the night, and in the morning I had sort of the feeling like there were pins sticking into the tips of each of my fingers, which was pain, but not like they were smaller pins than the day before. And you know, it's just an improvement each day. So I'm really getting hopeful. Every time I come out here now, I have a memory coming here with my friend Charlie, and that was last fall, and it was after I'd found the lump in my breast, but before, I think probably before I'd had a biopsy, before I knew. And I didn't tell him, and there was a lot of moments like this where I was with loved ones, and the moments just felt really precious. I felt really appreciative of the people I was with, and I felt like I was not telling them because I wanted to preserve this time of innocence. I don't think I could have told you this consciously at the time, but I knew on some level, or at least I knew it was possible, that my life was about to change quite a bit. And I wasn't ready to deal with how it felt for people to look at me like I might die soon. I just wanted to be with that person without sort of without that feeling like we were separate in that way, like I had cancer, they did not, I was doomed, they were not, whatever, I don't know. It just felt important to me in those moments to savor the last few days of me never suspecting that I had any real chance of leaving this planet before my peers did. I have a brother who's 8 years older than me, and on a couple of occasions he's brought up something about how he's nearing 50 and feeling his mortality, and you know, sort of oh, I can't think of the word, just sort of clocking out what's left of his time span here, like we time span here on the planet, and you know, trying to wrap his mind around what it feels like to maybe have 30 years left. And a couple of times he's brought that up, I think in the future I probably just won't say anything, because you know, I can be with him while he orients himself to the rest of his life. I don't have to interject that my orientation has changed quite a bit. But between you and me, what I've said to him in the past and what I feel is like, yeah, I remember when I used to think like that. Those were the days. Those were the days. You know, I thought of high school reunions, 50-year high school reunions, and how there would just be a few of us left, and we'd talk about all those who had passed, and it had never occurred to me. It had never occurred to me that I might be one of those that was gone. I just thought, no, I'm healthy and I don't take big risks, and yeah, I guess, I mean, of course I knew it was possible, but it really never seemed like a real possibility. So, I mean, the statistics are pretty good for me. You know, it's at least a 70% chance that I'm going to be around 10 years from now. But when you look at the charts and you compare a 70% chance to, you know, if you didn't have cancer in the first place, I think it's something like a 99% chance. You know, so I'm taking quite a hit there. I basically turn on the camera to document, first, that I'm in a beautiful place, and second, that I'm not in a beautiful mood. So sometimes when I'm feeling kind of blue, I think of that like blue, the color of your blood when there's not a lot of oxygen in it. The more oxygen in your blood, the more red it is. And so, if I can't figure anything else out to do, I go out and redden up my blood. So that's what I'm doing. It's working a little. Look at this beaver dam. The oncologist today, it's Wednesday, and I will say green light, thumbs up. My neuropathy has greatly diminished. I don't have my seatbelt on. See, that's the thing about vlogging. You become a lot more self-conscious. I thought that I wore my seatbelt all the time until somebody on my blog wrote a comment saying, "Why don't you ever wear your seatbelt?" I was like, "What? I always wear my seatbelt." No, I don't. I forget. So, thank you. I messed up. So what happened there was, I left the keys not only in the ignition, but turned part way. So that, you know, where like you can still have the radio and the lights on, but the ignition is the engine isn't running. That's where I left the keys. The radio was not on, but the headlights were. And I went into the gym and I swam for a while, and came out and I couldn't find my keys in my pocket, and I was worried I'd locked them in the car. And luckily, my friend that I was swimming with insisted on staying with me and was offering to drive me home to get my spare key even, if I needed her to. And then we got to the car and it was unlocked and the key was in the ignition and it wouldn't start. So So she was able to give me a jump. We got help from, for some reason, I keep jumper cables in my car, and I have been glad of it many, many times. But for some reason, they're not in my car now. So I need to have a little talk with my husband, because my hunch is that they're in the truck or something. That they got moved, and that's not good. As far as cancer goes and chemo, I feel pretty good today. My fingers are still, they're not perfect, like it's not like it's over. But it's very, very mild now. And I'm really hoping that it even becomes more so in the coming days. Well, there's only two of them, one of them, before I have to go back to chemo again. And next week is going to be the big test. I'm assuming my oncologist will agree with me that it makes sense to go ahead and do this drug one more time and see how it goes this time. Now that I'm taking all these supplements, and now that I've recovered as much as I have, so this coming week is going to be the big test. I just hope supplements are the key, and neuropathy is, at least as a worry, is in the past. When I was on that first type of chemo, it was adriamycin and Cytoxin. It was really hard on my digestive system, particularly my mouth and stomach and everything in between. And I was always trying to find, it was harder at the beginning, the first couple of rounds, than the second two, and I don't know if it's because I quit the clinical trial I was on, that mystery drug was making things worse. I say mystery drug, Avastin. I say mystery because I don't know if I was actually getting it or if it was a placebo. But anyway, in my attempt to find something to make things easier, one of the things that came to my attention is that besides ginger being really good for nausea, which it is, by the way, licorice being really good for heartburn and like hyperacidity. So you can use just like real licorice root, which is a real like dried root you can buy in health food stores or online, and you can boil it and make a tea of it. It's really, if you like the taste of licorice, it's really delicious. But I was having a really hard time with the whole idea of tea. For some reason, it made me nauseous. Hot drinks weren't really working. And I couldn't bring myself to chew on the raw root, which I've done too, which is delicious too. But I did find this gluten, and I'm sensitive to wheat and gluten, which is in all like prepared licorices. But it turns out, no, there are gluten-free licorice products, and I bought some online, but I never opened the packages. I had one in my car in the glove compartment. I just found it, and I opened it today, and I ate some, and I discovered that my dog, can you see this? She likes it. I'm gonna give her a piece, so you can see how much she, probably already can see how much she likes it. Hopefully I've got her in the frame right now, you can see. Hopefully this isn't bad for her. Just so funny to watch her like trying to get the licorice down.